Hey everybody. I just wanted to go through what kind of stuff you will see on exam 2. Walking through, looking through the chapters, we are going to be covering chapters 1 and chapter 2. So if we begin, if you notice in chapter 1, if you remember, we were looking at cases of triangles that are not right. So they can be obtuse or acute triangles. And so basically, if we are talking about this in 3.1, so here we go. Question 1. You're going to have one question involving 3.1. Well, 3.1 was the law of sines. I expect you to know the law of sines, okay? So with the law of sines, you will be case 1, dealing with case 1 or case 2. So be expected to answer a law of sines question. Second question, law of cosines. So you're going to have a question involving the law of cosines. I also expect you to memorize this, but like I said, there's not much memorizing, okay? You don't have to worry about the A, B's, and C's. If you have a triangle, and this is the case where you can have case 3 and 4 here. So if you have a triangle and say that you have the angle, you know this angle is 30, this side is 5, this side is 6. Remember, law of cosines, to find the opposite sign, right, side, you can call it whatever you want. It could be A, B, or C. Let's just say it's A. So we would say that A squared is equal to, it's one side squared, 5 squared, plus 6 squared, minus 2, you have that 5 and that 6 again, cosine of 30, the angle that's sandwiched. So remember that this A matches this angle right here. The other two leftover sides, they get squared here and then subtract 2. So I feel like that's not too unreasonable to request that you understand and have that memorized. Question 3 will involve area of a triangle. You will be given these formulas 223 to 229 to deal with the different cases depending on what kind of triangle you're given and what type of information. This is given on the formula sheet. The formula sheet is now available on Blackboard in week 8, so you can go there, download it. I will provide a copy on exam day so that you have it. I just think that that's the easiest way so that you it's just a universal formula sheet for everyone. So um, print it, look at it, study with it when you're practicing these so you're not going to be surprised on what you have to know and what you don't know. Don't have to know, I should say. So I do expect you to know all of these identities right here. So please memorize and just know these are things that are that we've learned from chapter 1 as well. And I do expect you to know these. Remember, this is a really important one, and we use this a lot in proving identities when we convert tan theta into sine theta over cosine theta, and sometimes it's cotangent theta. I also expect you to know all of these identities. And with the question 4, I'm going to have something similar to basically deriving this identity, and then one other identity. Let's work with that identity. Notice that this identity deals with secant squared, this identity, secant squared and tangent squared. This identity deals with cotangent squared and cosecant squared. So how do we get these? Well, we're going to use, and I want you guys to all start with, the Pythagorean identity. And so to be able to derive these is a really important thing. So you have cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. And to be honest, this is what I do every time. I don't know 310 and 311 necessarily right off from the heart. I always derive it. So if I want to deal with tangent, think about if I divide this by cosine squared theta. And if you do that, you have to divide every part of your equation by cosine squared theta. So then that means that if you do this, you've got cosine squared theta over cosine squared theta is 1. This is tangent squared theta. And this ends up being secant squared theta. So we just proved 310. So I will ask you to do something like this in question 4. And then the second identity, 3, 1, 1. Well, we're going to start with, once again, the Pythagorean identity, cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta, and that's equal to 1. And now, if you look, what do we need? We want to get cotangent squared in there. So if I divide this by sine squared theta, that's going to give me cotangent squared. But if you do it to one thing, you have to do it to everything to make it fair. So now I have cotangent squared theta plus 1 equals, what is that? Cosecant squared theta. Now note that with this a little modification, maybe you want, and we did this in one of the identities, maybe you just have tangent squared theta somewhere in an identity, and you want to get to secant squared theta minus 1. So this is 310, modified, just by moving that 1 over to the other side. Also remember from this identity, it's really important to know that sine squared theta is equal to 1 minus cosine squared theta. That, I'm sure you notice when doing these identities, shows up all the time. And then cosine squared theta, if I just solve for that, is equal to 1 minus sine squared theta. So expect to do substitutions like that from the Pythagorean identity. So it's super important. Okay, everything else you'll be given the formula. So you have to know the Pythagorean identity and 310 and 311, but everything beyond that you can use the formula sheet, because I don't expect you to know half angle and double angle and the sum and the addition properties and identities, okay? You can use the formula sheet. Now, question 4 involves that. I'm probably going to do so questions, basically, let me just break it down. Question 5, it's either going to be 5 to 6, or it might be, I might do 3. 5 to 7, what you're going to need, so 2 to 3 questions. I'm going to ask you to prove some identities. One of these identities will actually be exactly from the homework, because I like to do that. So I'm going to pull one from the homework, and then I'll probably put 2 new ones on. But like I said, I won't throw any curveballs. I promise to keep it consistent to what we've been doing and ones similar to the homework. So I think that should be enough prep. Remember that Samuel is available to in the AAC from 4 to 4:30 to 6 this Wednesday. And I also extended the date that you can take the exam, so you can take the exam on Thursday if you'd like. If for some reason you won't be on campus on Thursday and you really want to meet with Samuel, as long as you meet with Samuel and let me know and get a signature from him, you can even take the exam on Friday if you're not available on Thursday. But that's really only if you're not available on Thursday. So I guess that's everything. If you have any questions, come see me during my office hours. If you have not picked up exam 1, please come and get exam 1, okay? It's really important to look at your mistakes and see how you can improve in the future. All right, good luck, everybody.